They have 58%.
And there's Dean Logan, the LA County Registrar in Downey. He's going to be talking about the problems we've seen tonight.
I'll just make a few brief remarks and then be happy to go around and take your questions. Obviously, today has been a challenging day for Los Angeles County, first and foremost for Los Angeles County voters, so I want to address that first and to just express my appreciation and thanks to the voters who came out to vote today, and my apology for those that are still in line and waiting to vote. My commitment is that we will serve you tonight and make sure that you have the opportunity to cast your ballot, and that ballot will be included in the final returns for this election. Also want to thank the 14,000 plus vote center election workers that worked at the vote centers today. This was a challenge for them as well. As you all know, we rolled out a new voting model in LA County, not just new equipment, but a whole new voting model, and that was a challenge for our traditional election workers as well as new people who helped support us today as well. And finally, want to thank you and apologize to you for not being as available as I normally am on election night. Obviously, trying to deal with a lot of these issues as we went late into the evening, and I wanted to be sure that we had that handled for the voters first and foremost. So I will say a few things. I think that there's a lot to be learned from today. We had a lot of voters who have shared with us and expressed that they had a positive experience with the new voting equipment and the new voting model. I think that what we also learned is that some of that model needs quite a bit of refinement. The logistics and the coordination of opening vote centers that are available to voters to go to any location over the course of 11 days is a pretty steep hill to climb, and I think that we perhaps overestimated how many of those voters would take advantage of the 10-day early voting period, and that resulted in a significant amount of voters turning out on election day. And then the distribution of the vote centers themselves, I think, is something that we need to look at closely as well, because we know that there are portions of the county where the stream of voters functioned quite well today, but there were other places, in particular in downtown LA, Santa Monica, Carson, and also and particularly at our college campuses, where for the first time ever we had voting available on the campuses, and where voters could actually register to vote and vote on the same day, which is a great service, but it's difficult to plan for the capacity for that. So a lot to be learned in that. Obviously not the rollout that we had hoped for, but I think it's also important to point out that the majority of the issues that we dealt with today on the technical end related to the check-in process, which was the process of our electronic poll books, which is what enables people to go and vote at any location, and to make sure that we have a full accounting of that. That proved to be a slower and more cumbersome process. The connectivity that's required for that and the stability of that needs to be addressed. The voting equipment itself, once people got through that check-in process, performed very well, and we were pleased with that, and I think that's reflected in the tally that we have released of the early voting ballots, or that we will release shortly, of the early voting ballots, and the feedback that we received from voters. So again, still very much an early part of this journey for our process in LA County. A lot to be learned. A lot of that falls on my shoulders and our shoulders in the Registrar-Recorder's office to figure out how we get the logistics and the capacity issues straightened out well before November. So with that, I will take questions.
So what is your reaction to the Sanders litigation? What's being done about that, and what were the biggest problems?
So I received notice at about 7:30 tonight that the Sanders campaign going to file a request to extend the voting hours by a couple of hours. It's not clear whether that was in specific locations or in all locations in LA County. We reviewed that. I will tell you, I looked at that issue myself earlier in the evening about whether or not it would be appropriate to go to court to extend the polling hours in Los Angeles County. The end result of that from our analysis was that the voters were already at the voting location. State law says that any voter who's in line by the time the polls close has the opportunity to vote. So, and voting had been open continuously throughout today, as well as the 10 days prior. So I think that to have extended the hours would have just extended the lines, perhaps, and really wouldn't have addressed the core issues that I've already talked about. So again, just not to repeat completely, I think the biggest issue was the check-in process and the capacity of the vote centers. So we had 979 voting locations today, but they were not as evenly distributed as one might desire, and it was difficult to predict where voters would choose to go to vote. And now we have some data that we can really look at and analyze that going forward.
So it's been a long day for everybody, I guess, and voters are still in line, but do you have any estimated time for precincts fully reporting? Does the department have some time to tell California voters how it'll turn out?
Well, so we've just released, you've probably seen that we released the preliminary results from our vote-by-mail ballots. So that was the first cumulative result that came out. Probably in about the next 15 minutes after we finish here, we'll add to that the early voting ballots that were cast during the 10-day early voting period. So that will be representative of votes cast throughout LA County. That is a benefit of the new model in that we don't have to wait until the ballots come back from all of the geographical areas to have the full distribution of the county represented in that count. After that, it kind of goes back to the traditional model of the vote centers. As they close, they will take their ballots to check-in centers where they are secured and then brought here by sheriff's deputies, and then we'll process those as we go throughout the night. The difference is that those boxes of ballots are not precinct-specific anymore. So each time we do a cumulative result, it will be adding to whatever contests are represented in the voters that voted at a particular vote center.
So you've already mentioned it, but there appears to have been a lot of issues with this new voting system. My question is, why is that, and will these issues be addressed in the upcoming election?
Sure. So as I stated, yes, it's our intent to refine the process and to address the issues. We will do a thorough review, and we'll be very transparent about that process as we complete the canvass for this election and begin to plan for the November election. We actually have several smaller elections even between now and November to process. Again, I think it's a little bit early to fully diagnose everything that happened today. I think, though, that it's fair to say that most of the issues that we experienced were growing pains with the new, so the multiple day model, the fact that we have locations that are available to all voters, the logistics of the arrangements of where those locations are geographically in the county and how they're distributed. After that, I think it really is the check-in process. That was the choke point today, and the connectivity with the e-poll books.
Dean Logan, the LA County Registrar, you can almost see that he feels the weight of 4.3 million registered voters in LA County on his shoulders.
But you give him credit for coming out and at least addressing the problem, acknowledging, of course he would have to do that,
Absolutely.
but being very apologetic about it and saying, well, this was a starting point and we hope to get this together by November, ladies and gentlemen, for the general election. But tonight they're still going to let people vote who were already in line. Just don't know how long that's going to take.